I just don't want crosstalk. I don't know. Well, let's just try it. So you're on. Want to do a?
It's not on. Oh, it is on.
Okay, so
Hello, hello.
I can turn it off.
Right, and then you can make it a little higher.
Give everybody a little time to sit down. Hi, Allison. Thanks for coming. Perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Truly amazing. Did everybody see yourself at least once? I'm going to switch to the PowerPoint here. Where is... Oh, now you see me and my wife. Sorry about that. Joe, you're not getting this on film, are you?
I need some check shots for the light. In here before.
Is Joseph in here yet? Right here in front of me. Oh, heavens, Betsy. That's why I was stalling. I thought you were here and I didn't want to embarrass you coming in late. I was just stalling, so, all right. Thank you very much for coming. I don't know about you, but I kind of teared up when I heard it starting on the I Love You song. It just really got to me. So thank you for coming. And here we are at the LMV class graduation for the class of 2023. This program could not exist without sponsors, and Google is our title sponsor, and they have done that for a number of years, and without them, I just do not know how the program could run as smoothly as it does. LinkedIn is our program year sponsor, and they've done that for a number of years as well. So thank you, LinkedIn. And Star One is the graduation night sponsor. So all your little gift bag goodies there, thank you, Star One. Rashad Wiley is one of my classmates from the class of 2020, and he was unable to make it tonight. He has a small child, and there was an issue, so he asked me to just give thanks from Star One. When he went through the program, he got a lot out of it, and that's how this works, right? We have graduates that know about it and support it going forward. So thank you to Star One and all of our sponsors. So we've come a long way. It is really hard for me to believe that it's been 9 months. Anyone feel that same way? Yeah, so we started in September. For those of you that do not know, guests and family members, it is a 9-month program, typically one Friday a month. And this year we slipped in a couple of extra things. So I just want to mention that LMV just gives you a panorama of how the city operates, right? So we have a day focused on leadership development, and that's to get to know each other on the first day. We have a city government day. Supervisor Simidian is typically a speaker at that event. Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, who gives her regrets she couldn't make it today, but she's sending Nicholas Hargas to help us with the ceremony a little bit later. Health and Human Services, really a powerful and moving experience to go to many of the nonprofits in the Mountain View area and just realize that the nonprofits are underfunded, understaffed, but when you see what they accomplish, it's really mind-blowing. So some of our class projects sometimes identify needs that they have, and we help them out with special projects. Education Day, to me, that was very interesting this year. It's funny, I went through the class, I taught it last year and I taught it this year, and I learned a lot at Education Day because we brought in different speakers. So there's always more to learn. This year we added something different. I wanted to do or add a simulation, something that would actually get us hands-on role-playing, kind of deep in the guts of an issue. And I also wanted to do something with our partners across the border at Leadership Sunnyvale. When COVID hit, almost all programs went dark for a while, but Leadership Sunnyvale just instantly figured out how to go online and move forward. So when Peter asked me if I would accept this job, and thank you, Peter, wherever you are, it's the best decision I ever made. Oh, there you are, hiding behind my son. Leadership Sunnyvale was online doing programs. So they actually let me attend some of their programs so that when we started up the following year, I had seen some online programs and learned about their things. So we did a poverty simulation with Leadership Sunnyvale. So now we not only have 30 cohorts amongst ourselves, but we have friends across the border in Sunnyvale. Air National Guard, NASA. This year we had a new venue host with Aurora, which is autonomous trucking vehicles. And I have to say it, right? So we're there looking at all this high technology, learning all this cool stuff, and Renee says, if there's nobody driving, who's going to blow the horn when somebody goes by like this, right? So they had her jump up in the truck and she blew the horn. And in the feedback form, you said that was your favorite part of the day. So anyway, all right. So today was Sustainability Day, and a little bit gripping, right? Tough subject to deal with. But one of the takeaways that I have is Mountain View is a leader in the area of climate control. And it's because people like you started years and years and years ago and working with City Council to make things happen that are happening today. So I would just like to say we put in some extra things here that were kind of voluntary, like delivering this, going to the smart station and the water treatment facility. So we had a lot of content. We covered a lot of turf in 9 months. I'd like to thank all the hosts. I'd like to thank Chamber of Commerce for hosting LMV for years and years, and Peter for really making it important and keeping it going with all the extra effort that the Chamber does to support this important program. All the speakers that we have at every event, City Council members and city staff, thank you very much. And of course, the participants. I learn as much from each and every one of you as you learn from me, and I truly, truly mean that. So thank you for your participation this year, and the list could go on and on. I did want to mention that in addition to attending the classes, there is a requirement to do a community project. Don't have time to go through all of them, but this year I was really impressed with the project that this class did. And we have a 10-hour minimum to do on the project, but LMV is full of overachievers, right? So I can tell you every project that I heard a debrief on, I realized that you guys put a lot of effort into that, and they were really fabulous, so thank you for that. Last year, I introduced a new thing. It was the Leadership of the Year Award, and I could not pick one person this year, so I picked a group. The second annual Best Leadership Award goes to Jacqueline, Marie, Christine, and Mar. This year was the first time on Health and Human Services Day that we went and visited the Senior Center and the Teen Center. And this group of people realized that they had these planter boxes with nothing in them. So they decided to do a planting day. Not only did they plant those 2 planter boxes, they found extra planter boxes that brought. They found the funding. They did a teaching program. They planted the planter boxes. They taught it in English and Spanish. And one of the takeaways was me is when they outbriefed, they said, some of the teens were like holding back and shy. And by the end of the day, they're digging into the dirt, planting things, smiling, laughing. So that, to me, is just a super example of community engagement. So not only that, we have people going back when the vegetables grow. They're going to go back, help them pick them, and introduce it into the kitchen because they do cooking classes and things like that. So it's going to be an ongoing project. So congratulations on your award. I went out of my way at Didim, so you actually all get one of these, which I'll give you. Okay, one thing before we turn it over to Supervisor Simidian. I took a class after I retired from high tech that was 4 months long, extremely intensive, and it was about cellular health. And when I signed up to the class, I thought it was all going to be about cellular health of the body. I had some extreme medical problems in my history, so anything I can learn to stay healthy is important to me. What I didn't know that there was going to be a section there about the mind as well. So if you see this picture of an iceberg, you have the conscious mind at the top. And the conscious mind is all about our thoughts and our judgments, and it's the reasoning, thinking, worrying mind. The subconscious mind is 10,000 times or more powerful. But it doesn't think or reason. It just acts and feeds the conscious mind. What you take in, who you talk to, what you listen to, what you're exposed to, all of those things go in to the thinking mind, but they're buried and embedded in the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind works 24 hours a day, and it is feeding those judgments and thoughts. So what you just did in the last 9 months is that you put new ideas into your mind. You put new opportunities in your mind. You put new connections and feelings about your classmates and your friends and the people in city government. So all of that learning in 9 months is down now in your subconscious mind, and it will be there forever. And it's going to influence how you think and act, whether you know it or not. So, didn't know that I was programming you guys, did you? All right. So I'd like to introduce Supervisor Joe Simidian. I don't know what to say other than you support this program, you support this community, and you're so visible and instrumental. And rather than read your bio, which everybody has and has already read, I want to tell you a personal impact story. Somebody near and dear to me, well-educated, but is a little bit of hard luck right now, and goes to a food bank. Pretty embarrassing to have to do that when you were up and running. And I read an article about Joe Simidian taking federal funds and feeding the agencies that are helping the people. And I want to thank you for helping not everybody, but in this case, somebody near and dear to my heart. So thank you for that. So we have a handheld mic, this mic, or no mic?
May I close that?
Yep.
Without?
Yep.
All right, that's good. Thanks. Thank you. I'm County Supervisor Joe Simidian, as you just heard, and I am here tonight to add a welcome because I am a believer in and a booster of and frequent speaker to Leadership Mountain View. And before I introduce your real speaker, your keynote speaker, I want to tell you why I am all of those things. It is because I have a real conviction that the work Leadership Mountain View does is not just extraordinarily important, but much more important than perhaps any of the participants have fully realized, even as they go through the program. And I say that because I have had the opportunity to serve in public office at 5 different levels. I've been a local school board president, mayor in Palo Alto, county supervisor, state assembly member, state senator. Can't hold a job apparently, but that's another thing for another time. But what those experiences have given me is a realization of just how important your engagement and participation is. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know when I say we are at an ugly time in American politics and governance. We are too often divided. We are too often in conflict with one another, even where we maybe have very good reasons to be working together. And the question that I wrestle with is, how are we going to get to a better place? And the answer is you. The only answer is you. Because what you all have done is said, yeah, I've got a busy life, and yeah, there are a lot of things I should be, could be, maybe would be doing otherwise, but I'm going to carve out the time and the energy to become more deeply embedded in the community, develop the relationships that are necessary to do good work in partnership with others, and I'm not going to turn my back and walk in the other direction. And that is what happens too often today. I had a cup of coffee with a local city council member in Palo Alto, so no one takes offense, who was expressing his frustration. and he said to me, you know, I don't know why we just keep doing this, meaning serve in the public arena. And I said, well, I do. And he looked a little startled at my presumptuousness and said, you do? You're going to tell me why I keep doing this? I said, well, I'm going to tell you why we keep doing this. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was also telling him why you keep doing this and why Leadership Mountain View keeps doing this. And the answer is because the day we walk off the field is the day the bad guys win. It's just that simple. I think I actually used more colorful language than that, but it's a Leadership Mountain View graduation, and I'll stay inside the bounds. So I want all of you to think about that as you celebrate your graduation, as you sort of look back on what I know was fond and fun times with folks who are also part of the community and engaged in doing good works. It is not just important, I would say it's absolutely essential to what kind of communities we're going to have, what kind of state, what kind of nation we're going to have in the months and years ahead. The day you walk off the field is the day the bad guys win. And as long as good people like the folks who are graduating tonight continue to roll up their sleeves and say, I'm going to do my part, I think we have some hope that we will get to a better place and a less ugly time in terms of the public arena. So thank you for that, and that is why I am a believer in and a booster of and a speaker to Leadership Mountain View. And it's why the class will know this even if the rest of you don't. It's why I do the 13 tips for successful advocacy, which is a staple that some might say, trot out every year, year after year, because I want the graduates to have an even greater insight into how they can be effective in making change for good. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. As you might have heard earlier, I always feel like I do learn more than I convey in those sessions by engaging with the class. And I just want to pause and ask you all to give a round of applause to this year's graduates, because they are people who have chosen not to walk off the field. Now,
Supervisor Committee, before you go on, 13 people came up to me today and said they have something that they want to tell you. So would the first person please stand up?
Number one, develop a relationship before you arrive. Number two, understand what motivates your audience and tell them why they care.
Number three, understand what is possible and what is not.
Number four, find a floor manager. Number five, tell them what you want.
Number 6, bring them solutions, not problems.
Number 7, describe the elements of a solution rather than insist on your solution.
Number 8, do not chastise, insult, or threaten the member or his superior.
Number 9, understand that sometimes less is more.
Number 10, layer your campaign.
Number 11, persistence pays off.
Number 12, make it easy to say yes.
And number 13, the value of a thank you. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Well, I will say, I was going to say thank you, but I just realized that you're making me follow my own tips, which is just the kind of audaciousness I would expect from this class. Let me just put it to you that way. I really do want to say thank you. Kind to know they stuck. Kind of you to let me know they stuck. I hope they serve you well. And as I said earlier, I hope you stay on the field. Keep putting your best effort out there, because it's absolutely indispensable to the better community and better place that we want our state and our nation to be. And I want to introduce someone who in this community really needs no introduction, but I'm going to scare her and your team a little bit because I'm going to go off script. And I think most of you perhaps know our keynote speaker, Lenka Wright. As a communications professional, which is a sort of a amorphous term, Lenka has led citywide communications and outreach for, I think, 5 other cities in places and states as diverse as Washington and Texas and other parts of California. So she has some context and sense of understanding for the work she does that is larger than our immediate area. But her current role is to serve as the City of Mountain View's first Chief Communications Officer. Now, that's another one of those titles that, could mean almost anything. I mean, nobody knows what a county supervisor is. On the other hand, a chief communications officer could be almost anything. But I want to just take a moment to say why that role is so important. Because as I hinted a bit earlier, we're at a time in this country where Americans' trust in their government is at an all-time low. And we can't get to that better place I was exhorting you all to help get us to if we don't find a way to restore trust in our local government, our state government, and our national government. And that starts with having a truth teller who can speak for every institution of government, including the City of Mountain View. I will tell you, having represented 9 different cities and towns over the course, 10 actually, over the course of the last 10 years in my current role, that Mountain View is a special place. I have often said it is a caring community with a can-do city government. And when you put those two things together, good things happen. So the job that Lenka has, Chief Communications Officer, that's a very fulsome title, but what does it really mean? What it really means is that she gets up every day and goes to work and restores trust in our local government. Suggests to all of us that there is a path forward where we can work cooperatively with one another to get to a better place, to solve the problems of the community, to build on what is already there that is good and right. And that is not a small role by any means. Now, before she was in that role, she has some interesting history. She was an award-winning news reporter and anchor at TV stations, again, around the country. So I'm guessing that Florida was different than Mountain View. I'm guessing that New York, South Dakota, Texas, and Wyoming were different places as well. And so she brings all of that experience and that frame of reference to her work here on our behalf. You might say, how did she end up in all those places? Well, she's a military spouse. Air Force. Yes. Yeah. Sometime we should talk about Peterson Field and Ent Air Force Base and the Air Force Academy and the Air Force Cadets Corvette that was made of fiberglass that I unfortunately rear-ended. Yeah, and maybe I'll even sing a bar or two or not of the Air Force Blue, which I see you nodding. But in addition to all that, she's also, I'm told, the proud mother of one of Broadway's next stars, who is, going to head to high school in August and then chart a path that will be uniquely theirs. She lives in South San Jose, where she is civically engaged as an individual member of the community. And what I'm told is that she builds community there, one person at a time. But here in Mountain View, she builds community on a wider basis. And as I said, she is the literal personification of this community when she is out and about, telling the story of the city of Mountain View in a way that builds and maintains trust and that builds and maintains a sense of community. So please join me in welcoming your Chief Communications Officer, Lenka Wright. Lenka?
There we go. We'll do a hug. We'll do a hug. Okay.
Madam Mayor?
All right. Hi, everyone. Give me 1 second to
Get everything operational. And I know Brian will help in that regard.
My fingerprint here.
Ah. I will do that. Give me 1 second. All right, everyone, are you ready to go on a little journey with me? All right. All right, well, hi everyone. As you heard, I'm Lenka Wright, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you this evening. Let's reflect on coincidence. The English writer Alan Moore had some thoughts about coincidence. Now, I don't know if any of you are comic book fans. Anyone? All right. His name may sound familiar. He's the writer behind V for Vendetta, as well as Watchmen. Now, here's what he had to say. There is no coincidence, only the illusion of coincidence. Now, the word coincidence is a noun, and according to Webster's dictionary, it is a remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without apparent causal connection. For instance, they met by coincidence, or it was a chance meeting. Well, I'm going to share with you some experiences I've had in my life, and all of you can decide, is it a coincidence or not? For example, what is in a date? The date, specifically, July 30th. Now, that was the date that my husband and I got married, July 30th. You see us there outside the stretch SUV limo. Yeah, we know how to ride. And they're also, that's my mom and dad, also married on July 30th. Now, you may say, what's the big deal? You know, people do that all the time. Here's the thing. I didn't know. You're like, what? You didn't know? How's that? Well, you see, my mom passed away unexpectedly from lung cancer when I was just 2 years old. And at that time, and maybe even nowadays, families don't really like to talk about things that are uncomfortable, perhaps bring sorrow or grief, like the loss of a parent. Well, when my fiance at the time, Dave, we were trying to decide on a day to get married, we had a destination wedding of sorts. And we were going to get married at the Air Force Academy Chapel. And folks were coming in, family, friends from all over the country. And so we're looking at dates in the summer. And one Saturday was July 30th. So I was like, oh, that sounds like a good date. I called my dad, who's back in New York, and I said, hey, Dad, how does July 30th sound to you? And there's a little catch I hear in his voice. And he says, that's the same day your mom and I got married. Oh, I mean, I was just taken aback. And, my dad considers my mom the love of his life. This summer, my husband and I will be celebrating 18 years of marriage. Thank you. Now, you might see, maybe it was deep in my subconscious that I knew that, that was when they get married. Maybe, or maybe not. So let's talk about the people who come into your life, like this fun bunch here from Leadership Mountain View, class of 2022, best class ever. Sometimes things are a happy accident, and just before Dave and I were going to get married, he was going to be sent on or I should say we were going to be sent on a 2-year non-flying assignment with the Army. And so he was able to put in 5 choices as to where we could go. So our top 2 choices were in Germany. We thought, oh, we could explore the countryside, go all over Europe, see castles, drink German beer, lederhosen. Maybe not lederhosen. Number 3, Hawaii. We like that aloha spirit. Number 4, Savannah, Georgia. I hear a little, vote for Savannah. We were thinking, a lot of history there, Gothic architecture, as well as sweet tea. Any sweet tea fans in the room? Oh yeah, I hear you. Well, our 5th option, Killeen, Texas. I have a feeling you surmised by the photos behind me, where'd we end up? Central Texas. And as I saw, that's where we're heading. I noticed that a news director I worked for years ago was now the news director at the NBC affiliate in the Waco Temple Killeen market. So I called him up and said, hey, Dan, I'm moving to Central Texas. He's like, oh, great. Guess what? I have a morning anchor opening, and if you want it, it's yours. So hence I did take that offer up, and it worked out pretty well. As you might see in the little blurry image there, of me holding up some hardware, that's an Emmy for a newscast I contributed to. So, perhaps you could say it was serendipity. Thank you. So, speaking of places, that's Indiana University, and I'm a born and bred New Yorker, and like many teenagers going off to college, you kind of want to get away from the family a little bit. So I went to the Midwest, went to IU, Hoosiers, woo, go Big Red. And as you can see, it's a gorgeous campus. And because I really didn't know anyone there as an incoming freshman, I had to have my roommate randomly selected. And so you can see that there I am in the middle. Yes, 90s hair. Didn't find a can of hairspray I didn't like at that time. And there, the young lady with blonde hair, that was my roommate. And her name is Michelle Marsh. Does the name Michelle Marsh mean anything to any of you? Okay. Well, when I heard my roommate was going to be Michelle Marsh, I was over the moon. You see, I grew up with Michelle Marsh. I had watched her on the news at the CBS affiliate in New York. She was the main news anchor, and I aspired to be like her. And when I saw Michelle Marsh was going to be my roomie, I thought, maybe there is something to me wanting to be a broadcast journalist someday. Now, this is one of my dearest friends. That's Dawn. We've been friends since 3rd grade, and you see us there 10 years old. I'm the one on the left. We spent many a summer at Fire Island. Ever have the chance? Visit Fire Island. It's a barrier island off the coast of Long Island. I see some nods in the room. Yeah, great place. Also, there's Dawn the day before I got married at my rehearsal dinner. And then you see a group of college-age women. Dawn's not in that picture. Well, Dawn and I spent, our childhoods together, but my dad got remarried just as I was about to go to high school, and we moved away. We moved about 45 minutes by car. And Dawn and I still kept in touch, but not as much as we did when we were kids. And when we went off to college, I went to IU. She went to Cornell University in upstate New York. And independent of one another, we decided to rush a sorority. So I ended up pledging Alpha Phi. I think you know where I'm going with this. Guess what? So did Dawn. Coincidence? Maybe. Now, there's a professor at Cambridge University. His name is David Spiegelhalter. That's a mouthful. And he said, a coincidence itself is in the eye of the beholder. So consider any coincidences that may have led you to where you are right now. Does a coincidence have a purpose? Well, as you heard, I'm Chief Communications Officer here in Mountain View, and as part of my responsibilities, I oversee the Multicultural Engagement Program. And you see some members of the team that I'm with, and they provide translations and interpretations as well as outreach in several languages, which are Spanish, Chinese, as well as Russian. And the woman who's in the solo photo, that is Nancy Duco. She's a coordinator of the program. And you see, Nancy had quite a few supervisors before I came on board. And she's thinking, oh boy, getting a new boss. What is this one going to be like? And she saw my name, Lenka. She's like, I wonder if she's Russian. Well, Nancy and I meet, and we do some small talk, and she inquired about my name. And so I said, oh yeah, my mom wanted to honor my dad's side of the family. And Loretta was actually my dad's mom's name, but her birth name was Lenka. And so Nancy and I were talking some more, getting to know each other, and over some time, turns out that although Nancy considers Puerto Rico her home, she is actually was born in the Dominican Republic, and she left there at age 10, just like my mom. Now, my mom was born in the Dominican Republic, and she left for the United States at age 10 to escape political strife there. And now, because of Nancy and I having this kind of shared heritage together, later this year, I'm going to be heading to the Dominican Republic for the first time. Thanks to Nancy. Now, you are sort of towards the end of your journey, or some might say the beginning of your journey with Leadership Mountain View. But I remember when I was sitting right where you are, and when we were just starting up Leadership Mountain View, getting to know the class and who your classmates were going to be, we were on Slack kind of introducing ourselves, and there was a woman on there who said, she's in the Air National Guard, based at Moffett Field, and went to the Air Force Academy. So later that night, I said, hey, Dave, do you know somebody named Katrine? And Dave looks at me and asks, Katrine? Katrine Waterman? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I know Katrine. She dated my roommate at the academy. And in fact, we all went to Europe together, a bunch of us, and had a great time celebrating that we made it through the Air Force Academy. Well, Katrina and I hit it off, and we ended up actually doing our community project together along with you and Mai, who is also a huge animal lover like Katrina and I are. And I did get Katrine and my husband together again after 20-so years apart. They hadn't been in contact. And so we've had lunch several times together. And all I can say is, although things did not work out between Katrine and my husband's college roommate, academy roommate, I'll just say she's doing pretty good right now. Maybe there's someone special who entered her life, and who knows if my husband and I may have had something to do with that. Well, there are many explanations for coincidences. One is called the law of truly large numbers. Yeah, there really is a law like that. And what it means is that anything remotely possible can happen if we wait long enough. And there's another explanation that concerns if we look close enough, if we pay close attention to our surroundings, we will discover that there's more coincidences than we could ever fathom. Or, as one of my coworkers likes to say, Maybe the universe is trying to tell you something. Well, no matter, why don't you all take a look around the room right now. Take a look at some of the folks you've spent some time with. Consider how a chance encounter that with someone here at Leadership Mountain View may lead to something extraordinary in your future. Believe me, being among all of you right here, right now, is no coincidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Lika. Thank you. So it's a tradition every year to have the class vote on who they want to represent them, to give some words on the from the perspective of the class. And I was not surprised at all that Raj won that award. And if I cue up his backdrop, you can come on up. Okay, Raj, back up. I don't see it. Did I put it in Sustainability Day by mistake? Well, Raj, you put a ton of work into that, and
It looked really good.
I could try to get it from the email.
That's all right. How about just get on with the words and we'll skip that part?
Okay, I'll try to get it up later. Thank you.
No worries. So hello, everyone. We've got to roll with the punches over here. So I'd like to thank my classmates for selecting me for the honor of representing the group and for giving me an opportunity to talk about my favorite topic, which is recognizing, celebrating, and strengthening communities caring for themselves. In voting for me, they probably didn't realize that I would then turn around and ask them to provide me with most of the content, some of which you're going to miss, but never mind. I asked them to share their thoughts on leadership in just a few words. What does leadership mean to you? And hopefully at some point you'll get to see what they said. But one of the things that was interesting was there was such a rich variety of thoughts that were shared. And part of the joy of community is that variety. We have so much to learn from each other if we're willing to listen. And I should note that about a year ago, I was out for a stroll, and as I walked past the plaza, I was drawn in by a technology fair. And I came upon the Chamber of Commerce booth and discovered Leadership Mountain View. And it seemed perfect, as for some time now, I've been searching for a way to get more involved in the community that I've lived in for over 40 years. You see, for the past decade and a half, I've been working on strengthening families and communities. I've conducted research and explorations, given talks, led workshops, organized conferences, and consulted on well-being and belonging all over the world. In Santa Barbara, in Cincinnati, in Detroit, and Toronto, and Stockholm, and Salzburg, and Shanghai, but not so much right here at home. And what I've been helping people to do is learn to see the caring connections in their day-to-day lives, learning to see the impact of day-to-day activities on well-being so that they can better care for themselves and their families and their communities. So while know yourself is ancient wisdom, there have been, in fact, radical advances in tools and methods to do so, led, of course, by us in Silicon Valley. And people often discover that their well-being is deeply interconnected with others and that there is a lot of power around them to tap into. And this is human. It applies to everyone. Just yesterday, I was presenting to admirals at the Naval Academy. Next week, I'll be talking to nurses at Kaiser. But I've also worked with waitresses and house cleaners and rabbis and civic leaders and students from college down to second grade. For all of us, before we can improve our lives, before we can make use of our community's gifts, first we have to see what exists. For us in LMV, this program has enabled us to see what exists in Mountain View. And what did we see? Well, I asked my classmates to also tell me about their most memorable moments from this past year, and I'll share some of these with you. For Michael, it was the very first activity. He said, "For me, it was the Art and Wine Festival to start our class and our work as volunteers. To see such an incredible event that brings so many people together in our community, run with so many volunteers and incredible planning, it truly showed me the spirit of our community." Andrea spoke about a theme. There were many terrific takeaways from this program, but the ones that are standing out to me right now are some of the reflections we heard on making it through the pandemic. The police officer who said it makes a world of difference when people smile and are kind. Jean Boulanger of Red Rock said that when things are crappy, you note it and tag a "for now" onto the end. Josh was impressed listening to the speakers at NASA and walking on the campus. Listening to true leaders in a field with such understanding of their profession is amazing. Jackie too mentioned science, but of a different sort. The Sunnyvale Waste Station Tour. I was completely unaware of all the work that goes on at this facility and what they offer. I have now used their services twice and plan to get some mulch when it stops raining. Learning about schools, teachers, students, administrators was eye-opening for many. Amy said, "My most memorable moment was the visit to the schools and talk from the superintendents. As someone with no children and who hasn't been engaged in the school system since being a kid, I learned about how schools are for children today. I also have been moved to think about the implications of population growth beyond just housing. As the superintendents raised, what must go hand in hand with increased housing is a school system to support that population. It has made me realize that schools and other human services, elder care, a police force, public infrastructure, etc., need to be ramped up at the same time as housing to provide a quality of standard of living." While Catherine said, "I loved learning about mentor-tutor connection. I actually ended up joining the program and had my first meeting with my mentee last weekend. We went to see the baby goats at Deer Hollow Farm, which has been about 30 years since I've been there with my kids. Dave touched on classmates connecting with each other. The most memorable moment for me was participating in the FAW TV commercials during the TV Studios tour. It was great watching people from different backgrounds come together and display their creativity and sense of humor through the event. For myself, a powerful experience was, in fact, the poverty simulation our class did alongside with Leadership Sunnyvale. It wasn't so much what we learned about the challenges faced by poor folks. I kind of knew about that. Rather, what struck me was discovering how these experiences were not at all foreign to some of my classmates. In our own lives, we have been homeless, have struggled for food, been at the mercy of Kafkaesque systems. The experience reminded me that in today's America, many, perhaps most, live on the edge, at risk of and in fear of being dumped into poverty due to unfortunate and unplannable circumstances. There was positivity also, as we shared our stories with each other. We became closer to one another, more appreciative of our strengths and our resiliency, and just our common humanity. Some classmates highlighted moments of action. So Alex said, the most memorable moment was actually planting trees. I feel like we talk about so many things in LMV, and that's great, but this was an action. It felt really good to be able to complete a task and leave something better than we found it. Likewise, Vanessa talked about her group project. My favorite experience was honestly picking up litter downtown with my Keep Mountain View Clean project. I loved taking action, doing something that matters to me, and feeling the gratitude of others around us. I also loved how we made a Keep Mountain View Clean sign out of supplies we had on hand, a plastic bag and colored duct tape. I really think that sign helped attract attention. But my favorite response to my request came from Kyle, who said, my favorite part about LMV has been seeing all the good that people in our community do to make Mountain View a better place. As you're all aware, our community, our nation faces many challenging problems, and our ability to address these are hampered by our disconnection, polarization, and distrust. There's so much frustration, anger, and hopelessness that it is difficult to listen with respect, empathy, and love to voices other than our own. I'm one of those who believe that we need to rediscover our common humanity, rediscover our ability to find delight in our diversity, rediscover joy in our multitudes. Mia Birdsong, a family activist and author based in Oakland, says, the do-it-yourselfness of the American dream narrative doesn't work for anyone because none of us is self-sufficient. Interdependence is part of who we are as people. We're fundamentally wired to need others. I'm part of something called the Weave community. Weave, the Social Fabric Project, is part of the Aspen Institute and was founded by author and pundit David Brooks. Weave connects people across the US who are taking time to show up for others, who are building connections in communities and weaving a rich social fabric. It ends up being a rich source of ideas that we in Mountain View can tap into, things we ourselves can do to strengthen our community. And to have the level of impact we seek, that we need, that we deserve, will require us to be bold and courageous. Boston's groundbreaking mayor, Michelle Wu, says, we can't take only safe steps that get us to maybe mediocre outcomes. In more powerful prose, a century ago, the architect Daniel Burnham urged us to make no small plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood. So let's be bold, let's be creative, let's open our eyes to the gifts of our community, especially our people. There's so much untapped power, wisdom, and love at our disposal to strengthen the fabric of our community and make life much better for each and every one of us. Thank you. And well, you know. So, Brian, the class has a gift for you. We are all truly indebted to an amazing job that you did.
I know he has compassion, but he could have said, you screwed up my slide, backslide started, not getting it yet. Raj put a tremendous amount of effort. He had photos of every classmate and a leadership quote of theirs. I will get that out to everybody. I don't know how I managed.
Don't worry about it.
All right, if I could have Mayor Hicks up front. And is Nicholas Hargis here? I haven't seen, Nicholas is here. So classmates, if you could assemble over here in alphabetical order. Now you just spent 9 months in leadership program, so I'm sure you know how to do that. And you're gonna get the certificate from Mayor Hicks, and then a letter from Anna Eshu that's being given by Nicholas Hargis. And then our chairman of the Chamber of Commerce is gonna give you your gift bag. So Catherine Alexander from the Office of Supervisor Joe Samidia. Marisol Alvarado, Arlo Window Coverings. Oh, Yvette is next here. Yvette, okay. Yvette Ching from the Community Service Agency. Jay Chaudham from Compass Real Estate. Christine Cunningham from El Camino Health. Marie Garcia from Alta Housing. Josh Gold, Mountain View Police Department. Maureen Grazen Parisi, City of Mountain View Recreation. Excuse me. Where Kyle, I don't know if I have them in the right order, but let's do Kyle since it's your Kyle Havel, City of Mountain View Public Library. Adrian Heisiken from VMware. Jessica Hill from Shoreline Amphitheater. Amy Hung, self-employed. Kevin Iowa, Bullis High School? Charter School. Ann Enfield, retired. And on to great things. Oh. Where's Andrea? Oh, Andrea Lacey, Klein Lacey Design. Danielle Lee, Mountain View Chief Sustainability and Resiliency Officer. David T. Lynn. Vanessa Luke. And if I forgot to print my boss's certificate, I'm in big trouble. Patrick Murray, Mountain View Fire Department. Raj Mehta, Atlas of Caring. Alex Pantese, City of Mountain View Public Library. Michael Pulowski, St. Francis High School. I'm starting to pray at this point that there's one at the bottom here. Renee Reed, LinkedIn. Leave it to Renee. She's going to blow that horn at the truck. David Shen, Mountain View Police Department. Jacqueline Tanner, retired. One, Lindsay West, Foothill Hands Association. Peter Katz, Inez Couch. So how many times did I say over the last 9 months a true leader double checks his work? Well, thank you, everybody.
We wanted a group photo at the front with just the.
Okay. Yeah, and we would really like to thank Joe. Round of applause for Joe volunteering his time to take pictures, which will make this a very memorable night. So. Okay. Yeah, okay, class photo, and we'll meet you downstairs for food and drink and celebration. Thank you, Supervisor Simidian. Thank you, Mayor Hicks, and thank you, everybody, for attending, and Anna Ashby's office as well.
I have yours. Yeah, so I have this. Okay, we'll have to. Somebody else that's not.
Huh?
Brian.
Teachers?
T-shirts.
Oh, t-shirts. I told them, but I'll remind them.
Josh's bag, it got all fouled up there, so.
Okay, thank you for helping. Okay, participants, after the photo, go ahead and pick up a t-shirt table out to that side, okay?
That's perfect.
I think.